welcome to Woodset Central and to my August update. Some time since I actually did an update, so I thought I'd let you know what I've been doing. My main project at the moment is to actually install Railroad & Co.'s train controller. This will allow me some train automation controlled by computer. In order to do this, there's quite a lot of work I've had to do, mainly installing block detection. So I've had to install block detectors and divide the layout down into various blocks so that the software can detect where trains are at any given time. In order for the system to work reliably, you also need reliable point control motors that can provide feedback to the system and tell them which way the points are actually set at any given time. In this way, avoiding collisions. So that's one of the things that I've been busy with, reinstalling new point motors, and that's been a fairly major undertaking. I'm now in the testing stage of the system, and I have about, I would say, 75% success. I've still got some issues to sort out. One of my main lines going through Woodset Central Station got a fault in the block controlling it, and this was causing locomotives to stop prematurely rather than where they should do at the station. So I'm having to do a little bit of track relaying to actually sort that problem out. Anyway, I've tried to cover most of these things in this video I've prepared, and I hope you enjoy it. I've also done a little bit showing how I fix droppers to new pieces of track. I had the opportunity to film this as I was having to do it today. I have a slightly different approach to a lot of the things I've seen on YouTube, so that may or may not be of interest to people. Anyway, I hope you enjoy. If you do, please leave a like and some feedback. Any comments you make, I'll be pleased to answer. And if you haven't subscribed, be very pleased if you would do. Anyway, all for now, and enjoy the video. Bye. So, an update on what we've been doing. We've taken up the two station platforms because one of the things that we're doing at the moment is relaying tracks that run through the station. The reason being that this was one of the blocks in the railroad system, and it had a fault in it. I think the fault was caused by the fact that there had been some breaks in the track from previous use, and this was causing the locomotive to stop prematurely before it got to the end of the block. I've also installed a third ECOS 50080 block detector, which gives me another 16 blocks that can be detected. I've now replaced all the point motors with Cobalt IP digitals. These work very reliably with the ECOS system and give feedback on the track position of the various points. So the next job is to actually replace this length of track on the main line with some new track to form a new block, and I'll do that this morning. I need to lay some more cork and also solder on some dropper wires, and that process I'll show you in a minute, the way that I actually do it. I like to solder my dropper wires before I lay the track. I find it easier that way than trying to struggle once the track is in position. So I've selected my track. new pieces of track, and with a bit of tape I've marked where I need to solder the droppers. I'll take the track downstairs to my workshop and do the soldering down there. I found an offcut of track that's the right length for this third piece that already has the droppers soldered in place, as can be seen. Okay, so the starting point is to cut 2 lengths of dropper wire sufficiently long to meet the bus wire underneath the layout. My wiring convention is brown to the top and purple to the bottom rail. The reason I do my soldering off the track is that I see so many people, or so many YouTube videos of people holding a piece of dropper wire, the edge of the track like so, and trying to solder to the outside of the rail, and the net result is a big blob of solder that's not very neat. I find it much easier to solder to the underside of the rail, and that way the joint is actually hidden by the ballast. So, having marked the point where we want our dropper on this particular rail, the way I proceed is as follows. I remove this bit of tape as that's no longer needed. Sharp Stanley knife or Swan Morton knife, and I just cut through the links between the sleepers where I want to fix the dropper. The reason being that I can then slide the track along, and that gives me an opening where I can actually do my soldering without having to burn the sleepers. And once the soldering's done, I can obviously push the sleepers back into position. Next job is to take some liquid flux. I use liquid flux rather than the other type. It's a lot neater. Comes in a pencil like this, and you just wipe it on, and there we go. So we start by tinning the rails where we want to make the joint, and as you can see, I'm actually tinning the underside of the rail rather than the side of it. There, a nice little blob of solder, and another one there, and that's where the dropper will actually be attached. So next thing is to strip the outer on the dropper wire, and we're going to tin that. Just put a weight on it to hold it in position, and there it's tinned. Do the other one. So having stripped the wire, I just twist up the ends of it, and we can tin this second wire as so. So having tinned the wire, and you need to remember that when you're soldering the actual droppers, you reverse the position when you turn the wire over. So the brown wire and the purple wire, so the purple goes to the top, so we'll solder that on first. Very simply, I just hold that in position, apply a little bit of solder to the end of the iron, and solder it in. And with a pair of clippers we can get down the side and clip that off clean, so we have a nice neat joint underneath the rail. There'll be nothing to show on the side of the rail once the dropper is fed through, and you've nothing causing any problems. So we'll now solder the brown wire in place like so, and we can trim the excess off. Then all we need to do, slide the sleepers back into position, and our droppers are neatly in place. So that's my recommendation for soldering droppers. Do it off the track rather than once the rails are fixed. So we've got our 3 pieces of track now done with the droppers. So the next job is to lay the cork underlay. So in order to lay the cork, I lay a piece of track along a length of cork and then run a pencil or a pen down the side of it to mark the width of the track. So we've marked a line off down the edge of the cork, slightly larger than the width of the sleepers. So having marked off a second length from the same width as the first, I just trim them off with a pair of scissors. So the cork is affixed with a generous dollop of PVA, which will hold it in place. So now we've got all the cork in place, we can start thinking about laying the track. So now we've got the new track section laid. Next job is to drill the holes and put the droppers through. Do this with a 2.5mm drill and just thread them through. So thread them through and then just pull them through from the underside of the board.